Yet another Oklahoma legislative deadline week has passed, and on this week's episode of Lincoln to Local, we'll take a look at some of the bills that Farm Bureau continues to track as we prepare to round the corner into the final few weeks of the 2026 Oklahoma legislative session. Gage, we're getting pretty close to the end of the 2026 Oklahoma legislative session. Where are we at in session? Kind of what's the timeline and the time frame of how much we really have to go before we sine die?
So, yeah, we're kind of looking like we could be a month away from the end, but we've been talking for a few weeks that it looks like the legislature is going to try to end early, and that does look like the case. So we may be another couple of weeks and be wrapping up. But anyhow, we did pass a pretty significant deadline this last week where all bills had to be through committee. So all they have, however much time they have left, it's just going to be floor work from this time on. So there was a big rush to get bills through committee to try to keep them alive. And then also during that time, there's been appointees by the governor to different boards and commissions that take place here in Oklahoma City that represent all the way across the state, boards like the ODAF board, and then commissions like the Conservation Commission. And there's different Senate committees that have had to approve those nominees. They got those through committee this week, and then they'll be sent on to the Senate floor to finish the approval process.
Now, we talked about kind of the committee work side of things wrapping up, and that naturally means some bills come out of committee, some bills don't make it out. And I know one bill that we've talked about before on Lincoln Local, and Farm Bureau's been watching this session, did not quite make it all the way through the committee process in the Senate. What bill was that didn't quite make it?
Yeah, one of those bills is House Bill 3405 by Petskowski of the House and Peterson of the Senate. And it's one that we've talked about quite a bit that would label new noxious weeds that would actually include poison hemlock and kudzu to the already list of noxious weeds that the state of Oklahoma has. And it's one that was actually on the Senate Ag agenda, but they didn't get to it, and it was not heard, so did not make the deadline, and it is now dead going forward.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, I know there's another bill that has not only made it through its committee, but has passed the floor and is sitting on the governor's desk awaiting a signature. What bill is that?
Yeah, that's Senate Bill 2134 by Senator Murdoch and Representative Worthen, and it's the one that puts some training in place for emergency management and tow truck drivers when it comes to livestock that's involved in those vehicular accidents. So this is one of those bills we've talked about. We've got several of them we've been working on, but so far this is the one of those bills that's made it through the whole process, sent to the governor's desk, and awaiting his signature.
Now, there's a lot of bills I know trying to make it across the finish line in a quick fashion before we get done with session. What are those top bills that Farm Bureau's watching that are going to see some floor action here pretty quick?
So, yeah, we've already gotten the report of some of those bills that are going to be on the House floor on Monday. And like I said, there's a lot of bills to get through. Not guarantee they'll get to them on Monday, but they have been put on the House floor. And some of those bills are Senate Bill 2112, dealing with the open pasture roads that we've talked about. Also, Senate Bill 1944, dealing with ag employee workman's comp. And then Senate Bill 2159 is a bill we have not spoken much about, but it actually designates wheat as the official crop of Oklahoma. So that's one of those, it's been a fun bill to kind of work on. It hasn't had any opposition, so we haven't had to push it really hard. But it's got through the process without any amendments or anything like that. So if it passes the floor on Monday, it'll head to the governor's desk. Those other two bills have actually had amendments put on them. So if they get across the House floor, they will actually have to go back to the Senate to be approved, those amendments to be approved there. So as we look into these last couple weeks of just floor work, we start to worry about some of these bills running out of time just to get through the process and finish that. So anything that has an amendment on it or has the title struck at this time, we kind of see that as maybe a challenge to get it across the finish line, but we're hoping that we can still get some of these there.
All session long, it seems like we've been talking about a trio of water bills. Of course, water being something we worked on quite a bit the last several sessions. What are these three bills? Where are they at? I know it deals with the way that we monitor and potentially regulate groundwater usage in the state, but where do those bills sit?
Well, we've kind of talked all along that we had a House bill and two Senate bills, and we really felt like they would get together meaning them, the legislators, would to get together and put together one bill that they all agreed on, and we'd push that bill forward. And as the process went on, all three of these bills kept moving, kept staying alive. The House Bill 4459 by Representative Newton and Senator Yeck, it was not heard in Senate Energy, which is the committee that it was assigned to. So it died at the deadline this week, along with some of those other bills. But we still have both the Senate bills still alive. Senate Bill 1928 by Murdoch of the Senate and Moore of the House. And then we also have Senate Bill 259 by Senator Howard and Representative Newton. And both of those bills, there's differences in what they're trying to accomplish, but they all deal with that groundwater measuring and reporting, as well as the allocation that those irrigators and commercial use groundwater users get. But as they've moved along, amendments have been made. Some of the amendments are the same, so they're starting to form those two bills into somewhat the same bill. But even then, both of those Senate bills are eligible to be heard on the House floor at any time. And if they are heard and if they do pass, they will have to go back to the Senate for approval of those changes.
Beyond the legislation that we're working on, we'll continue to follow through all through session. We've got a big event coming up here in Oklahoma celebrating agriculture. What is that event? What will we be talking about as we get to the middle of next week?
Yeah, so next Wednesday, April 29th, is Ag Day at the Capitol, which is a big day for agriculture, as everyone might imagine. But they'll usually start off the day with a little parade or something outside, and then at 9 a.m. they start off with a big announcement to kick that off, and they'll have a little trade show going on there at the Rotunda most of the day. And then we also always honor the new inductee to the Oklahoma Hall of Fame on Ag Day. So we're looking forward to that, and it should be a big day for agriculture at the Capitol.
We'll be looking forward to celebrating that, and we'll catch up with all of the legislative action that happens as we check in next time with Lincoln to Local.